Hello. Welcome to Tripod. I want to remind you to turn your phone off. I almost never remember to tell you that, and I have never heard a phone go off, so you're probably pretty good at doing this by yourselves. So now I'm completely in the dark. Not so much now. The bathrooms, there's one downstairs at the back of the building and another one down this hall. Is that door open right now? Yes. Oh, here comes Erik. Here, I might as well introduce him while he's down here. Here's Erik, our projectionist.
Just the tech guy. Like the Wizard of Oz, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Oops, it turns out there's no door. Oh, well. Okay, so our first presenter tonight is Beth Freeman, who has enjoyed a lifelong love of animals, horses and cats in particular. She grew up in the Midwest and moved to Seattle to go to college. Pets and volunteer work were a terrific antidote to a work life immersed in commercial real estate and finance. She spent 20 plus years as a volunteer at the Humane Society for the King County in Bellevue and for 2 therapeutic horse riding programs for individuals with disabilities. After retirement and a move to Tacoma 10 years ago, a high priority was finding another way to be connected with animals. She found her niche here in Tacoma as a volunteer at the Humane Society for Tacoma, Pierce County. She is a cat care specialist, and she'll tell you more about that, and has just recently added to her cat resume by becoming one of 2 people who specialize in bathing Humane Society's cats and kittens. She has found joy in volunteering, helping animals, and the people who love animals. Beth?
Thanks, Lynn. This is so great. This is going to be such a fun night. Thank you for that introduction, Lynn. Thank you, Erik, up in the booth, for your technology help, and Anna for keeping us all organized. They want it up, okay. All right. So thank you very much for bringing us together for this event. It's going to be very fun, special evening for us to come together and share our love of pets. And how many animal lovers do we have here tonight? I hope many of you are lucky people that have a little buddy at home, little 4-legged buddy, little 2-winged buddy. So we love our animals. And for me, it started early. I would have loved to have grown up on a farm. But I lived in a small town in North Dakota, and what is an animal-crazy little girl to do? In my family, my mother was really not crazy about kids, and she really disliked cats. But she had 6 kids, and all of us loved animals, and we always seemed to manage to find a stray cat in need of a home. So we had a whole string of cats growing up, and I remember my mother having an argument with every one of those cats as far as who was the queen of the household. My mother never won that argument. As an adult, my first house I bought during the time that the Crosby, Stills, and Nash song, Our House, was popular. We're all about the same age. You probably remember that song. Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. So the very next week, I went out and I adopted 2 little kittens. And what fun. This is Julie and Ninja, their back ends. And they were into everything. Taking a shower meant I had an audience, and I had to evict them from the washing machine to do my laundry. And just the snuggle time was wonderful, and anytime anybody had a birthday, we all got to celebrate. Over the years, I had 8 beautiful cats, and they were the light of my life. They were all rescues, and one of my rescues had only one eye. And one time I dressed up like him. I put on a gray jumpsuit and little white gloves for my paws. I made a collar that matched his. I put on an eye patch. And we went down and we won the Cat and Owner Look-alike contest at the very first Average Joe Cat Show that was held in Seattle. It's an annual event now, after all these years. But there always were other animals in need of love. I remember one time I found a dead squirrel out in the street in front of my house. And the next day I found 2 little baby squirrels at the foot of the tree in my front yard. And I think what had happened is they got hungry when Mom didn't come home. And so a quick trip to the pet supply store for kitten nursing bottles and kitten milk replacers, and I was ready to be Mom. And oh, it was such fun. I carried them around in a sling that was left over from a broken arm. And there's Julia Ninja supervising, making sure I was doing it right. So I fed them around the clock. I even took them to work with me in the sling. But I discovered that feeding bottle babies really requires a team. And I didn't have that, so I took them to a wildlife rehabilitator to finish a job and return them out to the wild. Now, while cats are my first love, horses have always been my second love. And I remember the one and only time I ran away from home. I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and in my little town in North Dakota, we had a Coca-Cola bottling company that was a block from my house. And at one time, the Coca-Cola bottling company invited the Budweiser Clydesdale team to town for a special event, and they stabled them at the Coca-Cola plant. So can you imagine that little horse-crazy girl? The Clydesdales were living a block from my house. So one day I slipped away and spent the day with the horses. And I remember my mom didn't even bother to come looking for me. She figured out pretty quickly where I was. I just spent the afternoon sitting on the concrete floor looking at the back end of all those Clydesdales. And every time one of them would poo, I made sure to tell the stable hand about it. And I remember I was so proud when he leaned on his pitchfork and he said, "Whatever would I do without you?" Over the years, I never had children, but family reunions brought lots of nieces and nephews, and I loved to take the kids out trail riding. And I had friends with horses, so that meant birthdays with carrot cake. But cats have remained my first true love. It's been many years since I've had my own. About 10 years ago, I was lucky enough to meet my wonderful husband, Davis, who's helping me with the slides tonight. Thank you, Davis. And Davis, as it turns out, is terribly allergic to cats. But he'd lived successfully with a cat because his late wife, Hattie, came to their relationship with her cat. And their deal was we trained the cat to stay off the sofa and off the bed. And that worked for 17 years. But he offered that same deal to me, and I said, no way. The cats are trainable, but I'm not. If I have a cat, I want that cat on the sofa with me and in bed. My solution, then, to get my animal fix has been volunteering at the Humane Society for Tacoma, Pierce County. It's been really wonderful to spend time down there with all the cats, particularly, and with all the animal-loving volunteers. So I'd like to share with you some of my adventures down at my happy place on Center Street in Tacoma. I started out just doing basic cat care, whatever the staff needed help with. I did feeding, lots and lots of cleaning because the cubbies had to be turned over with every adoption. And the people in the Northwest are really wonderful. When they think about adding a 4-legged member of the family, they usually don't spend money on a designer pet. They go down to Humane Society and adopt. And I'm a member of a little group down there called Purr Time, which is cat behavior and socialization. And I love spending time with the under-socialized cats who are shy and they just need a little more one-on-one time to get comfortable with people and be able to strut their stuff and put their best paw forward with potential adopters. And if they're still too shy to do that with the people in person, the per-time volunteers have spent time with them, and so we do a little write-up, and we put it on their kennel card so that potential adopters can know about all their lovable little quirks. Humane Society has many volunteer openings for hands-on care of our cats and our dogs and our bunnies and our various small critters, hamsters, birds. Sometimes we have a snake. But besides the hands-on care opportunities, there are also a lot of other jobs that are behind the scenes in support of the animals. For instance, when I first started working there, this is funny to even admit it, I love laundry. And I love folding laundry. And the laundry folding area was chaotic at Humane Society. You'd be amazed at how much laundry is generated running a shelter. There are blankets and towels by the hundreds, by the thousands over a week's time. And there are sheets and surgery cloths and rags and hot water bottle covers and cat curtains and table covers and dog costumes and dog beds and more and more. So it was chaos. And I volunteered to create a folding instructional video that could help people know what things are and where we should put them, so we create an order in the room. And the Humane Society said, go for it. So my wonderful husband, Davis, was a videographer, and we did a little instructional video that's now a tool for training volunteers, and we have a great team of volunteers now that keep that process humming. But the fun was just beginning. I asked to be part of the bath brigade. And I would then learn how to groom and bathe Humane Society's cats and kittens. I've never known a cat or a kitten that ever asked for a bath, but sometimes they need it. They may arrive with fleas. Our animals get a flea treatment on intake, but they feel better if we can get the dead and dying fleas out of their coat. And sometimes their coats arrive in bad condition. Adult cats can usually do a good job self-grooming with their tongue, but sometimes a neglected coat will really feel better if we could give them a really good brushing and a bath. Now here's a little cutie that arrived, and she didn't need a bath, but she needed a good brushing, and we washed her with a washcloth, washed her face, and then she said, I am beautiful. And she got adopted just shortly thereafter. I've actually had older cats almost say thank you by purring all the way through their bath. It's hard to believe, but they do. They purr through the bath. But why would kittens need a bath, you might ask? Well, as I mentioned, there may be fleas to wash out. And also, when kittens are learning how to eat, their food is really kind of soft and slurpy. And if they don't quite have the hang of it, sometimes they just jump in face first, which this one did. And I think this one fell asleep in her food. And this next one jumped in with all 4 feet. And this one again was, and this one was face first, for sure. And this little one just was kind of all over. I have no idea how she did that, but she needed a bath. But we want them to put their best paw forward. So we bundle them up in a carrier and we take them to the bath brigade area. And here's another little group that's getting ready for their turn. And here's one who's in the middle of the process. And I wanted to show you kind of step by step how we do this. And step 1 for the older kittens and the adult cats is trimming their front claws. Because you know, cats and kittens are Velcro. They stick to everything. And here's me learning how to do it, how to trim the front claws and not doing such a good job. You can see the kitten is kind of balancing on one back toe. And here's my partner, Margot, really showing how it's done. Step 2 with the older kittens and adult cats is how to get them actually into the water. And you hold their front paws in the left hand, their rear end in the right hand, and then just kind of gently lower them into the the soapy water. Well, here's a picture of me on the first day on the job, and I totally forgot both of those lessons, left hand, right hand. I was holding the kitten up by her head. But we got the job done, and all is well. With time and practice, I've improved my technique, and my mentor, Margot Gooding, is a kitten and cat groomer and bather extraordinaire. I want to show you some little tiny kittens getting their very first dunking. You'll see with the little tiny kittens, there's really no left hand, right hand technique because they're so little. They just fit in the palm of your hand and their little legs stick out on both sides. It's just very cute. And so we make sure that they get good soapy water all through their coat. We have a soapy sponge and we really get them all soaped up. And after the wash cycle comes the rinse cycle. We have to get all of that water back out of their coat. And then we have a wet kitten that we towel dry and we dry them with a hairdryer. Remember that earlier slide that I showed with some of the tools that we put up, including the sign that we have on the cat's unoccupied cubby, telling the people where the cat is and inviting interested adopters to come and see us in the Bath Brigade area. And sometimes we have an audience through the hall window, and it's very fun. And when it's all done, we have a really cute armload. So here's a picture of me with my two favorite things, laundry and kittens. If you have time and are interested in doing something that will help our Tacoma and Pierce County animals, I really hope you'll consider trying Tacoma Humane. Just come and see if there's a niche that feels right for you. It is a great opportunity to do something that's fun and valued in Tacoma Humane's mission of saving lives and completing families. We make happy happen. And thank you. And please pick up a brochure on the back table if you're interested in looking at Tacoma Humane. I hope to see you again soon.
Questions?
Oh, questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
When you give the bath, can you tell if fleas are coming off? Can you see fleas
Yes.
in the water?
Yeah. Yeah. We use a flea comb and go through their coat before we even put them in the water.
Oh, okay.
Because depending on how many fleas they have, if it's just a few, then we know it'll come off in the bath. If they have a load of fleas, which happens sometimes, we get a special little dish that we put concentrated soapy water, and so we pull the fleas out with a flea comb and dip the flea comb in the water and drown the fleas, and then go through their coat that way before they even get their bath. Yeah. Any other questions?
How do you keep those fleas from jumping
They're
around the room?
Yeah, they're half dead already because the kittens have all gotten a flea treatment on intake. So the fleas are kind of on their last leg. They're still moving and squiggling, some of them, but yeah, they don't put up much of a fight. So we haven't had a problem with them jumping around the room. Any other questions? Yes.
I met Leslie, and you might have heard her say she loved to fold and do laundry. I didn't discover this till several years after we were together, but I'm so happy.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Thanks. Erik puts these presentations on YouTube. It usually takes about a week. So about a week from now, look for tonight's presentations. And all the ones we've ever done for the last couple of years are on YouTube. So next, excuse me, is Deb Ranniger. She's a visual artist and writer, urban chicken farmer, and volunteer at the Humane Society for Tacoma Pierce County. She is now happily retired and spends her time pursuing things that bring her joy. During her career, she served as the executive director of EDA Projects, an international nonprofit, as well as the vice president of advancement for Clover Park Technical College and executive director of Renton Technical College. Deb began volunteering at the Humane Society during the pandemic, initially fostering dogs and later bunnies. When the Humane Society reopened, she branched out and began working with the bunnies during hop time to help socialize and calm them and prepare for adoption. Then the Humane Society offered a poorly drawn pets fundraiser, and she enthusiastically jumped in since drawing brings her great joy. And this is an opportunity to use it to help raise funds for the shelter. Deb.
Oh, well, here we go. There's a little bit of information about the Humane Society. The most impressive thing on that slide to me is the fact that we care for around 10,000 pets every year. That is a whole lot of animals that come through the shelter, and most of whom have very happy futures ahead of them. They come in looking pretty sorry at times, but that shelter does amazing work. This fundraiser really has captured my heart. As Lynn mentioned, I began when the pandemic hit. I was, we were all in lockdown, and I was thinking, well, maybe I could be involved fostering animals during the pandemic, because sometimes animals who've had surgery and aren't ready to be adopted need to go someplace quiet to recuperate before they can come back and be up for adoption. But unfortunately, at the very beginning of the pandemic, the shelter, like everything else, was shut down. But they did have an online application. So I went ahead and I filled out that application thinking, well, this may go on for a while, and at some point they may need fostering, and I'll have my application ready to go and submitted. So I did that, and that's how I began fostering dogs. But I quickly realized that fostering a dog can be stressful and difficult, especially if the dog has been stray for some time and is difficult to handle or very large, and I'm not a very large person. So when the Humane Society opened back up and we were able to begin going back in again, I decided to shift a little bit and try bunnies, because bunnies are a lot smaller and easier to handle. So I started not only fostering bunnies, but going in and doing like per time, hop time is the equivalent for bunnies, where you spend time petting the bunnies and socializing them and giving them treats, little raspberries. But it was when I heard about the Poorly Drawn Pets fundraiser that I truly got extremely excited, because my background is an artist. That's what I actually got my undergraduate degree in, was in art. And I thought, here's an opportunity for me to really use my skills in a way that will bring joy to people. So what is the fundraiser? How does it work exactly? Well, the first year I did it, we were just coming out of the pandemic. It was in 2022. And people were encouraged to post on Facebook a photograph of their pet. And then staff downloaded these photographs. And those of us who were volunteering came to the shelter, and there was like a stack of pictures at each table, and we were to grab a picture, and they provided felt pens and crayons and colored pencils, and that was it. and we had like 5 minutes to draw a picture of the pet. And it was a hoot. It was so much fun, and the pictures that people sent in were hysterical because they, dogs wearing party hats, cats in costumes, you name it. Guinea pigs, pigs, chickens, everybody was sending in all kinds of pictures of their pets. So that first year that I participated, we did 318 portraits in 2 days and raised $9,000. And I thought that was pretty darn good, considering for a 2-day fundraiser, I thought that was pretty good. But in 2023, things really changed. Let's see. Well, I'll come back to that slide. In 2023, word got out about the Poorly Drawn Pets fundraiser. And we had Cairo come and interview us, and it was on the news, and it went viral. And all of a sudden, we started getting hundreds of photographs being posted on Facebook. And what started out as a 2-day event actually went on for 2 weeks. And we had to cut. There was a point, the Humane Society got overwhelmed, and they said, okay, we're not going to let anybody else submit a picture. And they shut that part of it down. But the rest of us, we were drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing. And we drew over 1,500 portraits and raised $30,000 plus. It was impressive. And I thought, wow, how amazing that something like this could be that popular. I think what makes it great is everything that slide says. It brings joy to the people who are doing the drawing. It brings even more joy to the people receiving the portraits of the pets. They don't know what to expect, and those portraits get posted on Facebook next to their picture, so everybody can see it, and that builds even more enthusiasm and support for the shelter. And when I say it went viral, it was popping up everywhere. It wasn't just Cairo. Other news agencies were picking it up, and we were getting pictures from outside of Tacoma Pierce County, outside of Washington State. It was really something else. In 2024, this last March, because of what was learned in 2023, the Humane Society extended the fundraiser to 4 days, and they weren't going to let it go for 2 weeks. That was a bit overwhelming for everybody. But in the 4-day period of time, we did over 668 portraits, and we raised almost $23,000, which was the goal that the Humane Society had set. So in just a 3-year period, we jumped from $9,000 to into the $20,000 and $30,000 for a fundraiser. So I bet you'd like to see some of these drawings. So the next several slides, you're going to see the photograph that was submitted and then the art that was created. And what's really wonderful about this, particularly as a participant, is to see the variety of styles and how the different volunteers in the room who are drawing, approach each picture using different, pencil and felt pen and crayons. And the other really wonderful thing about it, for me as a volunteer, and doing this several years in a row, is I see many of the staff submit pictures, and then they frame the pictures and they put the pictures in their office. So I get to see the art that people created. The other really interesting thing that has happened for me as a result of this is that staff got to see my work, and I started getting commissions after the fundraiser was over. People wanted me to do a portrait of their deceased pet as a memorial. And so it's generated business for me very unexpectedly. And that's something that I have really enjoyed doing, is being able to do commissions for people. So this has been so wildly popular that the Humane Society has decided to sort of take it on the road. And this July, at Bark by the Bay, at Chambers Bay, there is going to be a poorly drawn pets booth. So people who bring their dogs or pets to this event can get a pet portrait. And I'll be volunteering at that, too. And these are just a few of the ones that I did during the fundraiser. I don't have the original pictures because we don't get to keep them, but I always took pictures on my phone. So if you, and I know that many of you are artists in this room, are interested in participating in poorly drawn pets, the person to contact is Megan T. at thehumanesociety.org. And I would encourage you to do it because it's really a joyous event. And you can draw as much or as little as you please. You are not conscripted for hours and hours of 5-minute portraits. You can come in for 2 hours and be done. So that's it. Questions?
How do you, where does the money come from? How does the money, I didn't catch, who submits the money?
So it's when the Humane, it's all viral. It's all done on Facebook. So when they advertise the fundraiser, it's on Facebook, and the people who want their pet portraits drawn have to click on a link and pay $25 on the link. I think it's PayPal or something like that.
Okay, that's what I want to know is the people who are submitting pictures then are the ones.
They pay
they're
$25 to have their
Okay.
pet's portrait done, and it
Poorly drawn.
right, poorly drawn, as you could see. And then when the portrait is done, it's reposted back to the picture that was posted, so that the person can see that it's their pet. Yes.
Is there a option to increase your donation when you send your picture in?
You can yes. If you want to donate $100 or $75, you can do it. You still just get one pet portrait. But you can upload a second pet or a second photograph, and spend another $25, and you can do it that way. So if you've got 6 dogs and you want 6 portraits, you can upload 6 different photographs and pay $25 per. Now, some people, as you saw, there were a couple that had like 1 photograph with 3 dogs in it. That's the same $25. But you can donate more. And people did. People did. Yeah. People are really in love with this fundraiser. Yeah.
You may have said this, but I didn't catch it. How did you come up with this idea originally?
I don't know. I was not. I was petting bunnies. Became known as the bunny whisperer, and left the world of development happily when I retired, and let other people be the decision makers on that. So, somebody in development came up with that idea. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
How many artists do you have participating?
It's varied from year to year, but we had over 30 this year participating. The year that it went viral, we probably had 40 to 50 participating. And the year before that, when we made 9,000, I would say we maybe had 10 to 15 participating.
So what's the process? How are they drawing at home? Are they submitting it virtually?
Yes.
So everybody's drawing from home?
No. There's
one place?
so we all draw in the conference room.
Okay, that's right.
However, the year it went viral in 2023, the Humane Society realized quickly that there was no way we were going to get 1,500 drawings done in a conference room that seats 9 people in a timely way. And so they started sending drawings home with people and saying, bring them back on Monday. And that worked. And because it worked, this year, the Humane Society allowed people to do that. They strongly encouraged people to come to this Humane Society and draw in the conference room that was set up, because they were providing all the materials and the paper, and there's a kind of esprit de corps. But they also were allowing people to take a stack of drawings home and bring them back.
So they still would print them out on a piece of paper so that you worked from a piece of paper, not necessarily your phone or something like that?
Yeah, we were working from a photograph that had been printed out from Facebook. Yeah. Yeah. Good questions. Any other questions?
That raises a really interesting question, though, for me, in terms of engaging artists who are using some kind of art tool that is, say, like on a tablet. That would be kind of interesting as a different media.
Yeah, I think the spirit of it is poorly drawn pets, quick sketches. So the Humane Society is not looking for, botanical rendering quality of the pet.
And you don't want them to run through an app where it just becomes...
Right. There is something about receiving something that's been hand-drawn that makes it special.
Okay.
So I think the Humane Society wants to maintain that integrity, which I think is why they didn't want people to take them home and, spend a half an hour on each drawing and stuff. They wanted to maintain that loose spirit and hand-drawn quality that people clearly love.
So on the technical side, does the picture that they've downloaded and printed off, does this have a number or a name or something like that you
It has a
transfer?
number. They number them.
And then you transfer that number to the drawing that you're doing?
It's, so when the artists show up in the conference room and there are these stacks of drawings on the tables, every drawing already has a number which ties to the person who submitted the drawing.
And does the pet owner end up with the original artwork or
No.
just a photo on Facebook?
They end up, they have to download the JPEG and
They
print it themselves.
Or carry it around on their phone.
Or carry it around and show it off on their phone. Yeah, it's their choice.
What
Yeah.
if the volunteer is too good of an artist to be considered a poorly drawn?
No, because I sort of fall into that category. And I haven't been kicked out. In fact, I was invited to come here and chat with you all. So I think, you know, all of those photographs that I showed you are charming and delightful, and they represent a wide range of skill level. So it's great. Yeah.
So do you possibly purposefully not draw really well to meet that?
No, but I try to stick to the time limit with which forces simplicity.
Yeah. So what's done with the originals?
I don't know. That's a Humane Society question. That's a good question. I don't know what they do with all of them. They may keep them for the archives to use them in, because I didn't put the slideshow together. I contributed the 3 slides at the end of the ones that I had done because I had saved them. But I think they keep them on file. So I think if the person who submits their photograph specifically asks, because I've heard that some of them have asked for the artist to sign them, and then they get the copy. So if on a case-by-case basis, they might give the original drawing to the person, but if you imagine 1,500 drawings trying to return the originals.
$100, it might help.
Yeah, it might. It might. And that's a good idea that I could carry back to the Humane Society.
$25 gets you a digital copy, $100 gets you the original.
I love it. Yeah, I will bring that back. Yeah. Yes.
What do you have in your hand?
I have a ways to give to the Humane Society, which I would very much like to hand out to everybody. So, and then giving is one way to participate. Lending your talent and becoming one of our Poorly Drawn Pets volunteers, or signing up to work at Bark by the Bay are ways that you can be involved in a very creative way as well.
So are you going to put those brochures on the back table by the door?
Is that,
Okay.
is that what you, okay, that's what I will do then. I will add to the stack. Yeah.
And can you remind us when the Bark at the Bay event is?
I believe it's July 17th. I'd have to check my phone, and my partner here, Hayes, is going to check his phone because he's got it in his phone too. But if you communicate with Megan T. at humanesociety.org, she can get you engaged and involved. The 13th, July 13th, at Chambers Bay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Lynn Di Nino, and I'm getting ready to introduce myself because I'm doing the next show, even though today I've lost my voice. It's kind of a collaborative because many of you sent in pictures of your pets. And I got so many pictures that I have exceeded my 50 image limit. So we are going to scramble through these slides. And of course, I had lots of pictures in my own computer of either past animals or kind of jokey pictures about animals. So I had to include those. I hope you'll forgive me. Erik, we're ready. Is this somebody's phone?
Oh, that would be mine.
It might be mine, I can tell. Lights. So I think some of you have seen this image before. This is Tim Farrell. He used to be a county commissioner. I don't know what he's doing right now. But years ago, we had another collaborative show where everybody sent in pictures for a show called Reading in Bed. So here he's reading The Real Mother Goose to his pet goose. Oh, and I'm the one that's forwarding these things. So here's Spider feeding their pet duck. And this is a duck they named Bernie, who shows up every year just about this time. And he is a lame duck. He's got a bad leg, so that's how they can tell it's always him. And because they have sort of tamed him, they think of him as their pet. And this is an image by Beth Freeman, present in the audience tonight. And this is one of his photographs with his model with her lizard coming up the back of her. Here's Beth, present in the audience also with her horse, I believe, called Mystic. I don't know who submitted this. I had a lot of people submitting images with no words describing them. A young girl with a chicken with sunglasses. That should be in the pet show, the poorly drawn pet show. These are baby chicks submitted by Pam McCluskey. And the chickens who grew up really fast, the same ones. And the menacing one, all by Pam. So my friend Mars went back to, I believe, Arkansas to take care of her brother's pets, and these are alpacas. And this is Bradley Thompson's chickens. And I don't know how this got out of order. This is Sarah, one of the alpacas you just saw. And some geese also on that farm. And a hummingbird in Mars's hand that she's feeding, not exactly a pet, but awfully friendly. And this is Erik, our projectionist's pet squirrel, named Henrietta, I believe. Yes. Here's my friend Kate with her horse called Diva. Here's Lars' pet iguana. He lives in Mexico. And we had to spend a lot of time on the deck waiting for the iguana to show up. This is an image I've had in my computer for the last 30 years or so, and somebody needs to be cheered up. I always include this photograph. Can you tell what's going on there? So these are friends Bill and his daughter Sarah Traver, who run Traver Gallery. their dogs. Here's an elderly relative, Sally, with her dog Molly. Bev and Carol's dog Snooky. Snooky again. Their current dog is called Tater, and he's on the right with his dog friend. This is just a dog I spotted recently. Wouldn't you love to be able to lay down like that? And here's another fun dog posture. Tater. Tater in costume. This is the dog Cecil, and he's the dog that ate $4,000. And maybe you remember that story, maybe about 3 months ago. I think a couple needed to go pay something off, and they went to the bank and they left that $4,000 on the counter, and when they got home, $4,000 was shredded to bits all over the apartment. And I believe they painstakingly put the money back together and somehow redeemed some of it at the bank. Cecil. So here is Becky and Greg's dog, sadly deceased at this time. They like dressing him up in costume. His name is Oslo. Is that right? Oslo? Yeah. And, you know, this must be another drawing event, Pause with Cause. And Erik, our AV guy up there, did this drawing. Here's Oslo again. And here he is as a chef. It's a dachshund. It's probably hard to tell in all these costumes exactly what type of dog he is. Here's Evan Purcell's dog, Bert. Jenny Hall's dog, Hanky Pank. And she added this phrase that goes with it: if you can drink from a bottle, you can use a coaster. James and Teresa's dog, Piccolo. And another great picture of Piccolo. Marcia's brother's dog, a Great Pyrenees. And this dog is Josh. And Josh and DB, I was going to call him DB. And here's her brother's dog, Bertle. These dogs are named Zelda and Black, and this is Michael Darcher and Joanne Lisowski's dogs. And their dogs again. More dogs in costume. Does anybody recognize this dog? Carol. I think Carol's in the audience. This is Star. And Scott Nelson's dog, Fitz, he says, is a California transplant who's always cold. Here's Kathy Gorfus and her dog, Storm. Pam McCluskey's puppy, Camille. Monica's dog, or cat rather, named Mercedes. Marcia Khan's dog, Maisie. I don't think that's just a costume. I think that was housekeeping necessity. And this is a painting I saw down in Astoria, Oregon, that I just loved. Here's Miss Meow, Anna Thurston's cat. Preston and Marita with their cat. Scott Nelson's cat, Sammy. This is my cat, Betty, in costume. Here's another of Anna Thurston's former cats, Micha or Mika? Micah. This was a bird-eating cat that had to be kept indoors. Mark Monlux's cat, and then his drawing of his cat as a kitten. This is a photograph by Erik upstairs there. And he took this picture because it felt so much like a scene out of Alice in Wonderland. Here's a kitten scene in McDonald's parking lot, submitted by Heather Caraway. Here's Mushu, Anne and Paul's cat, and another Mushu portrait. Here's Mary Mann's cat, Miss Jones, with blue eyes, sadly deceased also. This cat is Joan and Spider's cat, and they named this image Our Lady of Perpetual Hunger. Anybody with a cat relate to that? My cat is always starving. Here's Carol's cat, Sunny. Anybody that has a cat recognizes a picture like this. And this is Joan and Spider's cat, Maxie. Florian and Maria's new kitten. Lisa Kinishita's cat, Oliver. Anna Thurston's cat, Omi, no tail. And these, I think, are all not current pets, right, Anna? And here's a cat picture, myself and my cat, Betty. By the way, I had a cat who died a few years ago who loved coming in the shower. And I'd take hot showers, as hot as possible. And she would just jump over into the bathtub and walk around under my legs and look up and hope, some really hot pieces of water would land right on her. I tried to train Betty to do that, but she won't do it. Here's Spider and Minnie, their cat Minnie. There's Doug Mackey and their cat Larry. Pronouns she, her. This is John Carlton with his cat and Claudia's cat named Scouty. Here's Carol's cat, Sunny, watching television. Anna Thurston's Babette, also watching not only TV, but birds on TV. Okay, if you have a cat and you haven't already tried this, put down a piece of white paper and the cat will go lay on it. It's guaranteed. So this is my cat, Betty, and that's also Betty. I'm going on a trip and she thinks she's going to. And similar to the white piece of paper, make a belt with a circle and the cat will lay in it. Put blue masking tape on the floor, the cat will sit in it. And these two cats, Minnie and Maxie, are going for a trip. This is Mary Weiss's cat laying, as you can see. This is Puck, Sharon Russell's polydactyl boy cat. So polydactyl, I believe, means lots of toes, more toes than normal. And the classic laying in a box, this is Miriam's cat. And here's Ginger, Alexis's cat. Ginger also. And it's hard to make this slide out, it's a bit dark. That's Spider laying with both of their cats resting on him. This is an image submitted by Anna, and the creator of this image is Jin Obata. And you can see the cat is laying on top of the Tacoma Dome. This is not a local pet. Somebody recently sent this to me from Bali. And I used to live on Capitol Hill in Seattle, and somebody had a Vietnamese pig, and they would walk it around on a leash. And over the years, I watched it get bigger and bigger and bigger, so I don't know what happened eventually. So my friend Carl Smool made this donkey head. Here's a pelican. This picture also was sent to me from Bali recently, but of course we have pelicans here in the Northwest. It's just a beautiful picture. These, I think they're longhorn steer. And if you go to Bo Edison in Washington, which is a really cool little sort of artist settlement nowadays, you can see these two animals in the front yard of a house as you leave town. And when you drive by, your your head practically swivels off your neck. You cannot believe what you're seeing. Those horns, each one is about 3 feet long. So you don't even know how they can hold their head up. Erik, what happened to the tiger pictures?
That's a good question. Hang on.
Erik took some pictures at the zoo, which we are including on this show. And in fact, he just got at least one of them admitted into either the Edmonds annual art show.
Yes.
Is that right? And some of you were here when we did his rodeo show, and he got a couple of those images included in another show, recent. Okay, here's Erik's photo of a tiger at the zoo, and then the close-up. And I believe this is the one that was entered into an art show.
Yes.
Great. Any questions? Thank you.
What is your next topic going to be?
Thank you for reminding me. I've got my notes right here. Next month is kind of a summer in Tacoma theme, and Claudia Riedner will be doing a show on her garden, focusing on flowers and insects. And then Adela Ramos will be from the Tacoma Tree Foundation, is doing a show on the tree planting program here in Tacoma. And the third leg of that threesome is Duncan Livingston and his wife Mary will do a show on their, I call it a manicured forest. They have a big piece of property with lots of big trees on it, and an owl comes to visit regularly. And Duncan, you might remember, used to be the lead photographer at the Tacoma News Tribune, so his photographs are pretty terrific. And that date is June 21, the third Friday in June. Thank you. Oh. I have some flyers here. This coming Sunday at 2. I can't talk anymore. I'm going to put them up here on the piano. It's a trio of musicians, and they're doing a concert. It's $10. So I'll put these up here. I hope you can come. Thank you.
Thank you.